Just when we think we've seen it all, just when we think it can't possibly get any worse, we get slapped in the face with, "It takes you away." Yes, and takes away any hope that this mess will ever recover. This week, our focus is talking frogs, an attack on single fathers, and a throwaway line that manages to introduce a massive plot hole into Doctor Who lore. So how does this week's riveting plot play out? The gang lands in Norway, for some reason, and right away we learn something about a human-sheep bloodbath. Ed Heim, everyone, with one television writing credit to his name. At this point, I just couldn't wait to see what else this episode had in store. Next, we find a creepy boarded-up cabin and discover a blind girl with a missing father. Gee, I wonder where this plot thread is going. Ryan asks, "Are you sure your father didn't just pick up and go? Because absent fathers." More on this later. For a brief period early in the episode, we are tricked into thinking something interesting might finally happen 9 episodes into this mess when we hear noises coming from the woods. I was thinking, this sounds creepy, maybe this is going somewhere. But no, it's just a setup to further prove that our single dad is an ass. Then we find a wacky mirror. A portal. They end up in a cave and have a conversation with this Romulan goblin-looking thing. We learn that this is an anti-zone, or a buffer to prevent further wacky things from happening. The Doctor threatens to kill the Romulan goblin thing with the sonic screwdriver. Then we get information out of Romulan goblin about Eric, the absent single father. And we also get a glowing tomato balloon. Romulan goblin gets eaten by moths, and the Doctor and her friends find themselves in a mirror universe. Then we meet up with Eric in the mirror universe, and the Doctor goes into full self-aggrandizing, condescending, lecturing bitch mode. The contempt she shows for this man, I think, goes well beyond the character of the Doctor. I think Whittaker was channeling her full hatred of straight white males at this poor guy. For citation, I reference pretty much every interview Whittaker has given since taking the role. It's almost unbelievable how thoroughly unlikable this version of the Doctor is. Her facial expressions this series have been all over the place, except for when the Doctor is addressing Eric. Keep in mind, this is a character suffering from severe emotional trauma, obviously debilitated by depression and grief, and here he is thinking that his dead wife has come back to life. This was coupled by the concern that he might lose his wife forever, all over again. I've been hearing people call 13 the compassionate Doctor. Well, she shows compassion for everyone that has ever been slighted by the white male. But as for the white male, well, just look at this episode. I can't help but wonder where the root cause of this hatred comes from. Obviously, leaving your kid behind and unattended is completely unacceptable. But does he really deserve the level of hatred from Whittaker that he's getting? Hell, the Doctor's been more understanding to the Daleks in the past. Graham and Yaz threatened to hit Eric with full virtue signaling on display. Isn't this unbecoming of a police officer, Yaz? Who cares? You still suck. Keep in mind that this is how this character was written, by our very inexperienced writer, but probably under the urging of Chibnall. Not only is this episode an attack on single dads, but an attack on masculinity in general. Contrary to what third-wave feminists think, being a single dad is not fun. They are not glorified in the same way that single mothers tend to be. More often than not, they are actually vilified. I don't have any kids myself, but I've seen more than one friend get eviscerated by the courts in custody battles. And now it appears Doctor Who is just denouncing single fathers outright. The political and ideological crap this season has been beyond the pale, but this has really reached a new low. Not only was this episode a slap in the face to single fathers, but it also went out of its way to diminish masculinity. This is very present in the way both Graham and Eric are unwilling to say goodbye to their dead wives. It's as if saying, men can't let go. Yeah. One feels genuine love for one's spouse. This is a terrible thing. Well, if you ask the far left, they seem to have nothing but contempt for the nuclear family, so I guess it makes sense that way. The Doctor's response to Eric at the end of the episode is, "Time to move on, mate." And then when he says he can't, her response is, "Of course you can't," said in the most condescending tone possible. Then, as the Doctor is trying to get the mirror universe to take her, she states, he's an idiot, with a daughter who needs him. Now let's talk about the diversity and inclusion strategy. Do you really think you're being fair to the child actress in this episode? In your desire to be inclusive, BBC, you've opened this poor kid up to mockery. Fear Her was considered a terrible episode, largely because of the child actor at the center. While I greatly disliked this episode, I always felt bad for that kid. The performance given by the child actor this week was, well, not very good, but it wasn't her fault. You people put her in this situation. As if this poor kid doesn't already have enough to deal with, now she's going to have to live with being cast in this episode. We also get a fun example of confusing and screwing up Doctor Who lore. During her annoyingly manic and over-the-top explanation of how the mirror universe works, we learn that the Doctor had 7 grandmothers. What? Maybe this was our inexperienced writer, but Chibnall obviously approved this. You don't have any idea where you're going with this, do you, Chibs? Do Time Lords have 7 of each parent? How the hell does that work? And why have we never heard of this before? Or did the Doctor's grandparents just regenerate and change genders a lot? For the love of God, again, what? We eventually learn that the universe is lonely and looking for a friend, and then at the end of the episode it takes the form of a talking frog. Again, what? This is, of course, meant to represent the frog on Grace's necklace, but it's realized just so horribly. There wasn't even a marginal attempt to make sure that the frog's lips matched up with what the actress is saying. Remember the Web Planet or RTD's farting aliens? Well, Doctor Who just reached another new low with this. Some people have said this is Doctor Who jumping the shark. It's more like jumping the shark and beating it to death with a baseball bat. So in the end, we have our latest entry into the Doctor Who lecture series known as Series 11. Anybody remember when this was a science fiction show about a man that travels through time in a police box? And about the TARDIS. It seems that Chibnall has decided that it's now nothing but a background prop. This is probably because the police box was accused of offending certain demographics earlier this year because it was involved with law enforcement. Yeah, who cares about law and order? Let's just have anarchy. That's sure to work out wonderfully in the end. And now we're heading into the finale of this dumpster fire with no build-up at all. You see, Chibs, if you want people to actually watch your finale, then you have to provide them with at least something that makes them want to tune in. But nope, it looks like it's just another episode. You're either more inept than I thought, or you don't care about the success of this series. My guess is that the truth lies somewhere in the middle. And that's it for today. Don't forget to subscribe and follow me on Twitter. And also check out my other channel. And as always, everyone, thank you for watching, and have a great day.